I learned about the connection with your womb space and your throat, and how your womb space is the source of your power. Your throat is the expression of that creativity. Women, we are actually meant to use our voice.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome back to Reclaim Your Voice. I am very excited to be joined by an amazing guest today who is an expression to sales strategist, and she is going to explain to us what that entails. So Bea Lopez, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So for anyone listening who maybe hasn't come across you before, doesn't really know your work, can you introduce yourself a little bit more in your own words and tell us a bit about you and what you do and who you do it for?
Of course, yeah. I have 15 years sales experience in the pharmaceutical medical device industry, and I built that career just by being myself. And I was very good at that. It felt very easy, and I was very successful. Everything was going good until I landed in two companies actually that we didn't align with each other. I've been fired twice in the last 3 years for being too outspoken and for not aligning with company values and just for being myself and like sharing my ideas and talking back at people when I thought that something needed to be called out. And this actually messed a lot with my confidence as a salesperson, as a woman. It changes so much about my life and how I showed up in my life that when I was fired the second time around and saw the pattern, I was like, no, you know what? I need to stop doing this. And I don't want women to be dismissed for their voice anymore. And I realized that what made me successful was the same reason that they fired me for. But it's actually the same reason why I'm now doing this work and I'm activating women to use their voice and be and express, because I think that's the first step to actually sell something.
That's such a good point, isn't it? So let's go deeper into, first of all, what happened when you lost let's go to like when you lost your job for the second time.
Yeah.
So what did that do to your confidence, and how did you manage to rebuild yourself to be able to start your own business from there?
Yeah. Well, actually, the first time that they fired me is the time that messed with my confidence, because that time it was the first time that I was working in a management position. I was sort of like a product specialist, product manager. And I mean, the results of the team were good, honestly. But still, there were things that didn't align fully with me in the position that I didn't fully like. I don't think they knew what they wanted from the position either. So it was a misfit, and it's fine. But when they fired me, they started talking back at me like comments, things that I've said out of context, misinterpretations of things that I've done. And I was like, okay, fine. I think you are being unfair here, but it's fine. And after a couple of months, I just started to get like really upset about it and replaying back conversations. And I got afraid all of the sudden of going back to work and having the same experience and not being good at it anymore. So when I went back to work, I was, okay, let's go back to sales. That's what I'm good at. I've always been good at. Let's do that. And somehow I was already kind of working in my business or starting to work in my business, but it's true that I was like very lost about building a business online. So there was like a lot of trial and error. And I was like, okay, I'm going back to work and just do both things at the same time. I thought that was like a good idea. I didn't know how much it was going to burn me out. Somehow something had changed in me. I was not confident anymore about selling. I was not confident having client conversations, asking for the sale. I was still making good sales. That's the crazy part about it. But everything felt like very bad for me. I had like major imposter syndrome. I thought if this is feeling so hard and so icky for me at the moment, like uncomfortable, is because maybe before I was just lucky. I was good because I was lucky. And for 10 years, I was like very lucky and I'm not lucky anymore. And I just felt like a fraud. I felt like a fraud selling at my job. I felt like a fraud trying to be like a sales coach online. And then my whole personality started crumbling, even in my personal life. So actually, when they fired me the second time, I had already been working in myself like a lot. So I was in a better place with my mindset and everything. But it's true that I think I was at the point of fully like breaking down. Like I either quit this job or I quit the business or I don't know what to do with my life anymore because this is not working. Like something's feeling very bad with me. And then they fire me. And I felt so relieved. You wouldn't believe how relieved I felt because I had so much pressure about like being on a job and not ditching my career because of family and society and things like that. So when I was fired, I was like, thank you. Thank you. And that it took me like a couple of months, but after a couple of months, I was just able to say like, hey, I'm not going to be looking for a job anymore. I'm not going to go back to work because I know that if I go back to work, they are going to fire me again because this just not sits well with me. And that's what happened.
So do you buy into the school of thought that everything happens for a reason and you were supposed to lose your job on that day at that time to enable you to do great work with your clients now and grow your business as you are now?
Absolutely. Now it's very clear, but a couple months ago it was not clear at all. I didn't see a way forward and I was like, what's going on? What's happening? But now I see it like very clear that I needed to go through that to go back to myself and find my voice. And now like finding my passion that has changed everything in my business and what I'm doing and how I'm moving, how I'm showing up. Like the reason that I'm in this podcast is because I went through that. Before I never thought about speaking on a podcast, for example.
Exactly. And I think that when you're in it, it's obviously really difficult to see how there could possibly be a positive spin to the situation that you're in. But as we work through these things, I think they become really apparent, don't they? So can you take us back a couple of months as to why you felt like maybe things weren't quite going the way you wanted to? What was going on for you at that point?
Well, things were getting really heavy at work because going to work every day was feeling, I think I was like mildly depressed at that moment because I was waking up, I was like tired, I cannot do this, I was having like major headaches, and the only thing I was thinking all day, I want to get off of this and work in my business. But I was not getting clients and I was like jumping from thing to one thing, like from one thing to the other. I was actually gaslighting myself because I thought, like, I had these conversations with myself that my life would be so much easier if I was just happy with my job like I used to be. And if I could just get off of my job and relax at home and do my workout and walk my dog and do the groceries without being stressed out about like showing up on social media and creating content and creating offers and working on my mindset and things like that. So I felt bad and I was gaslighting myself for wanting more and wanting something different. And that's why I was like, I don't know what it is, but something needs to change. But obviously it was scary to just go and quit the job without having like a solid money coming from my business.
I think though that when you don't necessarily have a solid plan and you don't have an income coming in, you have to make it happen, don't you?
Yeah.
And although it feels really hard and that inner critic starts talking, and you've talked already about having imposter syndrome at certain points. And of course, you also said that your mental health wasn't in the best place that it possibly could be in. But, by doing the work on yourself and then coming up with all these ideas for your offers and your content, that's what builds the momentum. And then it's a compound effect eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, it
But
is.
what I would love to talk about more now is what you're doing currently. So you describe yourself as an expression to sales strategist. So can you help us understand what that means, what you do with your clients? How do you get them to, I think you said earlier, activate themselves? Because sometimes people hear the word sales and go, but you've got a really extensive history in sales. So I imagine it sort of comes second nature to you. But tell us more about what an expression to sales strategist is.
Yeah, I just want to say, because this is important to me, but when I was working in sales, I never thought I was going to work in sales, being honest. But when I started, I just started doing it, and I never thought that it was icky or uncomfortable. And I know that not a single man, not a single of my colleagues ever thought that they were being salesy or pushy or anything.
Love that.
So even for me, when I came online and everyone was talking about, this is too salesy, this is too pushy, I felt like, what are people talking about? Why is everyone talking about sales being so hard for women? Like now in the pharmaceutical and medical device industry, there are so many women that they are sales reps, at least in Spain. So I was like, I felt that maybe I was not good at the beginning, or that maybe I didn't know how to properly have a sales conversation, but I never felt like uncomfortable about sales. So I couldn't understand that narrative. And now that everyone is talking about it, I'm like, okay, let's change that, because that's not true.
I love that. What a great way to start this part of the podcast. It's amazing.
So what I call expression to sales is, like I said before, I was successful in my career just being myself. Of course, I've had many sales trainings and I know how to have a sales conversation, what to ask. But in my case, my sales were taking like months sometimes even years, like there were bigger negotiations. So there was a lot of trust building and a lot of getting to know the person. Like there are some clients that they are still friends with me up until today. So I was like, it was very obvious to me that a lot of the sales that I did, they were because the connection that I had with those people and my ability to see gaps in them, to see what they were hiding, to show parts of myself, to connect with them. And then when the moment came, I was like very fast at getting the sale, right? And that's because I was able to build that trust and be very open about my opinion. So I had clients, and at some point in time I said like, hey, no, this is not a good option for you. I'm not going to sell this. Or yes, we've been talking about this for months. When are you going to make that decision? And I've always been like direct and outspoken like that. And that's where I see a lot of women that are not connected with their voice. Like women, they struggle a lot with expression. And I've seen that in my personal life with my girlfriends, for example. And one of the things that losing my voice did to me is that I lost my confidence as a woman. I stopped feeling good in my body, feeling sexy, for example. That was something very important. And when you have a curious mind, you start reading things. And I learned about the connection with your womb space and your throat, and how your womb space is the source of your power. Your throat is the expression of that creation power, that creativity. So women, we are actually meant to use our voice. We are good at that and expressing our feelings. But you see how society, how the corporate world, how so many rules keep you from using your voice. And when you come into the online space, there is so much noise about what to say so people buy, high level language, high level messaging, and you start losing yourself in all the noise. And that's why so many women, they are the best kept secret. They are not standing out. So when you actually use your voice and you are fully expressed, people are going to connect with you at a human level, and you're going to stand out as a category of one, because nobody is going to be able to copy the way you think, the way you talk about your life experience. And that's actually what's going to create more impact and more sales in your business. And because it's going to build that trust.
Would you say then that that's the biggest disconnect for many sort of female-led businesses or just women in business generally, that the block to them showing up and selling, if you like, is that they're just getting lost in the noise and sort of losing their identity a little bit because they're trying to fit into what everyone's saying we should be doing?
Yeah, no, yeah, of course, because it happened to me. It happened to me even when I started. Often when you see women saying something about, like, oh, my sales, it's never really a sales problem. It's never about the skills. Normally it has to do with a fear of visibility, a fear of rejection, a fear of not being able to ask for what you want, because how you do one thing, you do others. So if you are afraid of actually asking for a sale, often there's also like a problem in your personal life by like around asking what you want to your family or your partner or whatever. So yes, I think there's a disconnect, and normally people don't have really sales problem in terms of like systems or skills. It's something deeper, which has to do with visibility and or with trying to please everybody, trying to be nice with everybody. And that's what a lot of women go through.
So when you're working with your clients, what sort of things are you working on with them to help them combat their fears of rejection or fears of visibility? What sort of things are you doing?
We work a lot through like limiting beliefs, any mindset blocks they might have, but I'm not someone that I want you to be sitting with your problems and throwing pity parties. Like, I'm a true believer that action creates the belief and creates the proof. So unless you go and take action and you put yourself in uncomfortable positions, nothing is going to change. So we do the kind of like the identity work and the inside work because everything starts there. But then we really take messy action to infuse all of that into your world. So you start collecting the proof that you need to build that confidence.
So can you give us an example of somebody that you've worked with who hasn't been able to make any sales or is really struggling to, have conversations with people, and then after the work that they've done with you, what they've then gone on to be able to achieve?
Yeah, there are a few things that we need to do. If you are not having conversations naturally, then, and I know people don't like that, but you need to do outreach. You need to somehow start doing outreach, starting conversations yourself, and not being afraid about inviting people into your spaces and your offers. And maybe people are going to ignore you, maybe people are going to say no, but the more people say no to you, the closer you are to a yes. And you wouldn't believe how many times someone has said no to me or not right now, and I've never made it seem anything about me because it was not my product. So I guess it was easy not to get attached to it. But so that's one of the things that we need to look at. The other thing is how much of your story are you using in your content and in your stories on Instagram or whatever platform you are using to be able to connect with your people. Like how much of your thought leadership and spicy opinions are you sharing? But like true, not just because you want to be controversial. And if you are not someone that uses the F word, you shouldn't be using it just for the sake of being blunt. And then we have a look at what are I like to create like more touch points with people. So what are the ways that we can get you more visible using maybe more platforms, using things like podcast guesting, pitching yourself in networking events? Like how can we get you in other rooms that expand your reach without going crazy about like without burning out or having to post like 20 trial reels into Instagram?
So I feel like there's such a strong parallel between your story and the theme of this podcast, because you talk about not using your voice or losing your voice. Was there like a light bulb moment for you where you felt like your voice was the center of everything that you do, not just professionally but personally as well?
Well, before that moment came, there was a lot of conversations that I had with myself that I would ask, like, what's going on with you? What's going on with you? Why are you hesitant to say this opinion or ask for this or for that? like, what's going on? I couldn't understand. So I knew something what's going on with myself, but I just couldn't understand what. But then it's true that when I was fired the second time around, one of the things that I talked with my mentor, she knew how I had like a little bit of resistance around just being kind of like a sales coach. Something was not fully hitting for me there. Like I wanted to go deeper, and somehow just talking about sales made me feel like very restricted and not creative at all. And then she asked me, what would you do if you forget about sales for a moment? And I was like, okay, I really like coaching people. I see them for who they are. And I'm very good at expressing myself or expressing my opinions and at making like complex things easy to understand. So I'm able to explain something that is very woo woo and make it tangible so your brain is on board. And I've always helped everyone. I coach them through my life to express themselves, like my brother, my friends. I've always liked public speaking. So yeah, like I think speaking is my thing. So it was like something that came like that. And that's when I realized, okay, then maybe I was fired because of my voice, truly for a reason. Because otherwise I would have never come to that conclusion. Or maybe, who knows?
I definitely think it happened for a reason, didn't it? For sure, for sure. And I think that it's just really important that you said that you just had lots of conversations with yourself. You know, there's lots of like inner coaching going on for you, I feel. And I know that you just mentioned that you have a mentor, and, you know, we're always, you know, seeking the advice from others as well, and collabs and conversing with others. But I think being able to really have that strong conversation with yourself to push yourself forward, I think is a great like tool to have in yourself. And it seems that you've been able to push yourself forward because of that, which is amazing. So if someone is listening right now and they recognize themselves in you or in your story in any way, maybe they physically lost their voice, metaphorically lost it, they're shrinking in their business or in their personal life, what's one thing that you would like them to hear if you haven't mentioned it already?
I'm going to say to them that they have things worth to say, and there is people that need them to say it because they need to listen to it. And you showing up today and speaking your truth can change someone's lives.
Amazing. Thank you. And what other things have you got on the horizon for the next sort of 12 months? Have you got any places that we could see you speaking? Because I know you said that you love public speaking. Do you tend to regularly attend events? Because I know you're based over in Spain. So do you go to events in Spain? Do you ever come over to the UK? You know, have you got any online things? Where might we see you somewhere this year?
Yeah, actually my first two events that they were before Christmas and after Christmas, they were in London. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Amazing.
there are a lot of events in London, but at the moment I have applied for a couple of like live summits online. I'm looking at opportunities to speak. My goal is to get like like in-person speaking opportunities, but it's true that who knows. But I'm applying to some for next year. I don't have any like business trips planned. I'm going on a retreat next week to Italy, but it's more like an identity and mindset work retreat. So I'm just like open to possibilities because honestly, everything has changed so much in the last 2 months that like I don't even know what's going to happen from now until September.
Exactly. What's going to happen next week? Totally. And what, since you've been going on this journey, what does reclaiming your voice look like to you?
To me, it's being so grounded in your truth that whatever happens, nothing can shake you. Whatever opinions, whatever limiting beliefs people have around it, it's just you go with it.
Thank you so much. And if we are not already connected with you on socials, where are you hanging out? Where can we find you? How can we connect with you? How can we come and have a chat with you?
Mainly on Instagram. I'm a lot on Threads too, and I also have a TikTok. And the name on the three is it's Bea Lopez altogether. So you can just send me a DM. I would love to have a chat.
Amazing. We'll link all of that up in the show notes. And thank you so much for sharing all your amazing story and your insights and your wisdom, Bea. It's been absolutely amazing to talk to you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gift. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.